Hello dear friends, glad to be back. Today is 6th of December, now it's 4:30, middle of the day or afternoon by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my second update for a day in which I will share with you latest reports of Russian Defense Ministry about progress of Russian special military operation in Ukraine and results of hostilities during the previous 24 hours. Before I start, let me remind you, dear friends, that this morning I did recorded and uploaded the main update for a day, which is packed with interesting and important news, if you ask me, with my commentary. And I will be very grateful if you will check that video. Also, you know what YouTube's algorithm does against independent channels from Russia, and I guess very few people did receive notification about my update, and therefore first update has quite a few views in comparison to previous days, so please help me out with the numbers if you can, because after all, more views, more likes and comments my videos will have, more chances are that we will manage to go through these artificial barriers that YouTube's administration, YouTube's algorithm creates against independent creators. That's been said. Let's talk about news. And well, according to Russian Defense Ministry, in Kupiansk direction, units of Russian Zapad group of forces. Zapad, by the way, it's west if we translate. So units of west group of forces jointly with combat aviation and artillery repelled 5 attacks of assault groups of 43rd, 60th mechanized and 57th motorized infantry brigades of Ukrainian armed forces near Sinkovka and Ivanovka. This is Kharkov region, and also near Lake Liman. Let me show you area that we are talking about. So this is Kupiansk direction, dear friends, and main hotspot in this area, of course, is this settlement, Sinkovka. Some other settlements also, but mainly we are hearing about Sinkovka. So 5 local scale counteroffensives of Ukrainian units were repelled in Kupiansk direction by Russian forces. As a result of hostilities in this direction, Ukrainian army lost about 140 military personnel, 1 tank, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 2 motor vehicles, 1 US-made M199 or M199 howitzer. Next is Krasny Liman direction, also northern sector of the front line. Let me show you this area. This is Krasny Liman direction, by the way, north of Seversk. And according to Russian Defense Ministry, in this direction, the Center group of forces, units of Center group of forces jointly with artillery repelled attack launched by 5th National Guard Brigade of Armed Forces of Ukraine, close to Grigorievka settlement, which is Donetsk People's Republic. In addition, airstrikes were delivered at enemy manpower and hardware close to Serebryansky forestry. The Ukrainian armed forces had suffered in this area losses up to 290 military personnel, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 5 motor vehicles, 1 US-made M109 Paladin self-prepared artillery system, 2 Czech-made Dana self-prepared artillery systems. And well, I did share on my Telegram video footage when the Russian Lancet drone was destroying exactly the Czech-made Dana self-prepared howitzer. And well, we have this information in the report of Defense Ministry also. And when it comes to area that we are talking about, as I said, it's a northern part of Seversk settlement, from Seversk to Liman. And this is Serbiansky forestry, dear friends, which is disputed between the sides, and on daily basis there are local scale skirmishes in this area. Activity was somewhat significant in comparison to, let's say, previous week, because according to Russian Defense Ministry, Ukrainian side lost, or Ukrainian armed forces lost this in this area 290 military personnel. Next is Donetsk direction, usually very active in comparison to other sectors. And well, according to Russian Defense Ministry, Yug group of forces, Yug is a south, dear friends, so south group of forces of Russian army, in close cooperation with the aviation and artillery, repelled 2 attacks launched by 81st Airborne and 24th Mechanized Brigades of Ukrainian armed forces near Belogorovka, Lugansk People's Republic, and Kirova, Donetsk People's Republic. In addition, strikes were delivered at positions of Ukrainian manpower and hardware near Klishevka, Mayorsk, Andreevka, and Marinka, Donetsk People's Republic. So basically we are talking about Donetsk sector, and in this area, of course, main hotspots are Bakhmut direction, flanks of Bakhmut, where Russian forces on daily basis improving their positions and are conducting local scale offensive operations. And today I did read some reports that Russian forces regain control almost over the 80% of territories on the northern flank of Bakhmut that was controlled by Russian military after Bakhmut did become under full Russian control. Then, as you know, Ukrainian forces simultaneously with the counteroffensive on their southern sectors in Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors launch local scale offensive operations in Bakhmut direction also, and did manage to regain control over some territories. And lately Russian forces are regaining control over this area. And of course, Avdiivka is a hotspot in Donetsk direction, Marinka and Krasnogorovka. Although at this point we are talking about local scale skirmishes and attempts from Russian forces to improve positions, to reinforce positions, and nothing is happening right now that can influence overall situation on the front line in immediate future, in upcoming days. But Donetsk direction usually most active on the front, and therefore, according to Russian Defense Ministry, up to 300 Ukrainian troops, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 6 motor vehicles, 2 Polish-made Krab self-propelled artillery systems, 2 US-made M777 artillery systems, and 1 Gvozdika self-propelled artillery system were neutralized. So quite a big number of casualties on part of Ukrainian side in Donetsk direction, also like in Krasny Liman direction. And if you take a look at the number of destroyed equipment of Ukrainian armed forces, well, data is in this case is also quite impressive. Next is South Donetsk direction of the front line, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, units of a Vostok group of forces. Vostok is east, if we translate, so units of east group of forces, helicopters, ground attack aircrafts, and artillery inflicted fire damage on manpower and hardware of 79th and 72nd Mechanized and 128 Territorial Defense Brigades of Ukrainian Armed Forces near Novomikhailivka and Makarovka, Donetsk People's Republic. As a result of hostilities during the previous 24 hours, Ukrainian armed forces lost up to 165 military personnel, 3 tanks, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 3 motor vehicles, 2 UK-made FH-70 howitzers, 1 Polish-made Krab self-prepared artillery system, 1 US-made M777 artillery system, 2 Gvozdika self-prepared artillery system, and 1 Grad MLRS launcher were neutralized. So Yet again, quite impressive results for last 24 hours. And probably all of you did notice, dear friends, that in South Donetsk direction last several days activities or hostilities did increase quite significantly in comparison to previous weeks. And of course, when you are talking about South Donetsk direction, it's this area, dear friends. This area, one of the main axes of Ukrainian so-called counteroffensive. If you remember, on June of 4th, Ukrainian forces began their highly anticipated by many counteroffensive, and main axis of that attack was Zaporozhye sector of the front line and South Donetsk sector of the front line. And of course, in theoretically speaking, main task of Ukrainian assault groups was to cut land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia. We all know how that counteroffensive ended for Kiev regime. Basically, Russian armed forces decimated last strategic reserves that Ukrainian army had to conduct this counteroffensive, as I was predicting, dear friends, long before that counteroffensive even began. According to Russian Defense Ministry, since the beginning of that so-called counteroffensive, since the June of 4th until 1st of December, Ukrainian armed forces lost more than 120,000 military personnel. Let's continue with the additional information. So next is Zaporozhye direction, where units of Russian group of forces, aviation and artillery inflicted losses on manpower and hardware of 33rd, 65th and 118th Mechanized Brigades of Armed Forces of Ukraine, close to Rabotina and Lukyanovskaya settlements, which is Donetsk People's Republic. Their Armed Forces of Ukraine losses were up to 55 military personnel in this area, 2 motor vehicles and 1 D-30 howitzer. So for the last several weeks, I will say, Zaporozhye sector of the front line is hostilities on Zaporozhye sector of the front line are decreased significantly. This is a least active sector when it comes to combat operations, but still Ukrainian forces, Russian forces on a regular basis are conducting local scale skirmishes, reckoning force operations, and of course artillery duels and drone wars are also constant, and as a result of it, Ukrainian side lost in Zaporozhye sector of the front line, 55 military personnel and several military equipment. Main hotspot here is still Orekhov bridgehead, this area. And next is Kherson direction, where according to Russian Defense Ministry, Russian troops, aviation and artillery inflicted damage on the Ukrainian armed forces close to Kachkarovka, Veselaya and Gavrilovka settlements. And Ukrainian losses in Kherson direction amounted up to 80 military personnel killed and wounded, 3 motor vehicles, 1 US-made M109 Paladin self-propelled artillery gun or howitzer, and also 1 M777 artillery system, 1 D-20 gun, as well as an electronic warfare station. So yet again, where we are talking about some heavy military equipment in Kherson direction, usually that, not usually, but always that military equipment is destroyed on the right bank of the Dnieper River, because at this point, Ukrainian side has no realistic opportunity to move heavy military equipment on the left bank. It's just manpower that are sent on the left bank, which is a trap for Ukrainian forces created by Russian side. And despite heavy losses, Kiev regime continues to conduct these suicidal operations in this sector. Also, dear friends, very interesting episode from today's report of Russian Defense Ministry. So Russian air defense units shot down 2 Su-25 attack planes and 1 MiG-29 fighter jet near Dobropolye, Donetsk People's Republic, and Kamyshevacha, Zaporozhye region. So 3 planes were destroyed. 3 Ukrainian combat planes were destroyed during the previous 24 hours, according to Russian MOD. And I do understand questions that I see in comment section: how many planes Kiev regime has left after so many losses in Ukraine's air force. And well, this is a good question because I don't know, I have no answer on it, and we can only just guess. But my understanding is that NATO member states, Washington, London, Berlin, and many other capitals probably buy all around the world whatever Soviet airplanes they could buy and deliver those planes to Kiev regime. And also, dear friends, I remind you that Eastern and Central European states, not all of them, but some of them, were part of Warsaw Pact and allies of Soviet Union, and all of them had hundreds of Soviet-era planes, including Su-25s and MiG-29 combat planes. And I guess all of them, even Germany, by the way, because Western Germany was a part of Warsaw Pact. And I guess all of those countries did send their Soviet-era planes to Kiev regime. And that's why it seems like number of planes in hands of Kiev regime is endless. But at some point, there will be a day when Russian side will destroy last combat aircraft of Ukrainian armed forces. And this is it, dear friends. This is it for this short video. I hope you will find the update interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share this video with your friends. And lastly, if you think this project, this channel is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.